Yes. Once again, good afternoon. In the previous class, we have seen the concept of class. Class is simply a collection of data members and its corresponding associated methods at a single location. We can call it as a class, right? It is a logical existence. It is a logical thing. Means even though you are defining a class, even though you are defining a class, there is no memory space is created for the data members and methods of that class. Because of this reason, we are saying that is logical existence. The general syntax is like class is a keyword followed by class name followed by data members and followed by set of methods which may or may not end with the semicolon. Okay, for example, I am taking circle. I'm taking circle as a general form. Why? Because there are different kind of circles are there which are various from size to size. Like for example, there is a bigger circle, there is a small circle, there is a small circle. Right? This is actual exist one. But if you all what we'll call, will everything will call it as a circles. That's it. So circle is general form, right? If you are going to write a circle, means if you are going to define a circle class, then how we are going to write? We need to use the keyword class followed by circle is the class name. Open parenthesis, open flower parenthesis, followed by what we need to write? We need to write data members. What are data members? Which are going to store some data. Something like we can call it as simply variables. Data members are variable, right? What is a variable? Like for example, I want to find out area and perimeter of a circle. Area and perimeter of a circle. Then what's the input I require? I require radius as an input, right? So to store the radius as input, I need to take one data member. That data member I am taking it as radius. Then to calculate radius and like perimeter and area, we require only this parameter. That is this property. That's it. Then I am going to write like void area of circle. Just for sake of simplicity, I am writing area of circle. Pi r square. Like we need to write pi r square. Then void and like perimeter 2 pi r. Don't write pi as it is. Pi should be written in the form of 3.14. Then ends with again flower. This is the class for the given general form of the circle. What is the class diagram? Before going to write this code, you need to draw a class diagram. It is not compulsory, but if you make it as compulsory for in your daily life, it will make a meaningful like design phase, right? So the class name is circle. The attributes are radius and void area is the method that we need to write, and void perimeter is the method that we need to write. By seeing this one, the corresponding developer can write the code easily without worrying anything. Okay, this is what all about class, right? Means there is no memory space is created. Next concept is object, right? Right now, up to now, what we have seen, once we create a class, once we define a class, there is no memory space is created. If there is no memory space is created, it is not existed physically. Once we create physically, then only it like once we create a memory, then only it will exist physically. So to make it physical existence, I need to create an object. I need to create an object for the class. Right, understood? Right? As it is a logical thing. If you want to make to be a physical existence, to make it to be a physical existence, I need to create an object. I need to create an object, right? So what will happen when I create an object? When I create an object, memory space will be created for both data members and the corresponding required methods of that class, right? When we create an object, the memory space will be created for the data members of the class as well as methods of that class. Methods of the class. I mean, if you define only the class definition, we define only the class definition, and if you want to perform some kind of operation over this data, then it is not possible for you to perform the operations on this circle. But to make some process, means to make the process of this data, we must should have to create an object. Means if you want to work with the data which you define in the class, you have to create an object with respect to that. And like there is another definition, so many textbooks have written, an object is simply an instance of a class. Object is an instance of a class. So the meaning of instance, can anybody answer? Instance means allocating sufficient amount of memory space. Amount of memory space is simply, we call it as instance. Means allocating sufficient amount of memory space for the class. For the class means for the data members and the corresponding required methods. Corresponding requirement means once I defined a object, then automatically for the data member, it is going to provide some memory space in the primary memory. Where it is going to create, it is going to in the primary memory. Like as it is integer, it is going to occupy 4 bytes of memory. The default value as 0. The default value as 0. Guys, see here. Once we create an object, memory space is created, right? That memory space, the created memory space is created at always in the primary memory. Try to remember, is always in the primary memory because is always stored in the primary, because when we are working with some data, that data always should be in the primary memory. Without that data is in the if the data is not in primary memory, we should not able to work with that data. Right? I hope you understood, right? So that is the reason. So right now we are working with this data means we are created object. We are created means we are working with that object. So memory space will be created for the primary memory, in the primary memory. Okay, now fine. Again, this primary memory contains various kind of memories like heap memory, stack memory, etc. ఇంకా చాలా ఉన్నాయి, associative, like ఇవన్నీ ఉన్నాయి. When we will use stack memory, can anybody answer? Stack memory. What kind of data is going to store in stack memory? So all the methods information is going to maintain the stack memory, right? So మీకు డేటా స్ట్రక్చర్ చెప్పినప్పుడు నేను ఆల్రెడీ ఒకసారి క్లియర్గా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశాను. స్టాక్ మీన్స్ వాట్? It performs the operation of last in first out or first in last out, mainly used for the purpose of recursion. What is recursion? A function calling itself. So what do you mean of function? In Java we are calling it as method. So all the methods information, right? Calling a method one by one sequentially, that information is going to store in stack memory. Stack memory. ఇక్కడ ఏమవుతుందమ్మా, all the local variables ఇక్కడ store అవుతాయి. Stack memory because of the methods concept. Okay na? And what kind of data is going to store in heap memory? So Heap memory contains all the objects. Once we create an object, all the objects are stored in, all the objects of Java are reside in heap memory. And all the methods of Java are in stack memory. Okay, now? Yes. Okay. And also one more important point here. So object means simply creating a memory space for the class, right? Yes. So అలా క్రియేట్ అయినప్పుడు ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ అన్ని ఎక్కడ క్రియేట్ అవుతాయమ్మా? ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ మెమరీ ఆల్ క్రియేటెడ్ ఇన్ హీప్ మెమరీ. మెథడ్స్ యొక్క ఆపరేషన్స్ ఎగ్జిక్యూషన్ ప్రాసెస్ అంటే ఎక్కడ వరకు అవుతుంది? స్టాక్ మెమరీలో క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది. స్టాక్ మెమరీలో కొడుతుంది. ఓకే, ఫైన్. సో ఇంతవరకు బాగానే ఉంది. హౌ టు క్రియేట్ అన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్? యూ విల్ గెట్ నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్. హౌ టు క్రియేట్ an object. So to create an object, so okay, fine. Before going to create an object, let me have a question. Object means used for to create memory. To create memory. Okay. So coming to C language, how we are going to create memory? Coming to C++ language, how we are going to create memory? Coming to Java language, how we are going to create memory? That is what I need to know. Anybody answer? C. How to create memory? Memory allocation. Ganesh, memory allocation is correct. In that part, what is the concept we are going to use? C language object has to define. C language object concept. Yes, Durga Sai, correct. By the dynamic memory allocation concept. So in C language, we are going to use dynamic memory allocation concept. Means allocating memory dynamically. We can say it is dynamic memory allocation, right? What are those dynamic allocated memory concepts? One is calloc function is there, malloc function is there, which you know already. Okay, fine. These are for allocating memory. These are for allocating memory. Means object create చేయకుండా కూడా dynamic memory allocation concept ద్వారా we can create a memory. How to delete the already allocated memory in C language? By using free as well as realloc, right? These are for to deallocate the concept, deallocate the memory, already allocated memory. What about in C++? In C++, to allocate a memory, we don't have calloc and malloc. We are having an object. We are having an object. So how to create an object? With respect to a new keyword. New is a keyword which is used to create an object. Once I create an object, memory will be created for the data members and methods of that class. Okay, now fine. So this is what for allocating memory. What about deallocating the memory? Can anybody answer? Deallocating the memory. Delete. Yes, ma. Very good. Delete is the keyword which is used for to deallocate the memory in C++ language. Similarly, in Java, to allocate memory, we are going to create an object. That object we are going to create with respect to a keyword new. How we are going to deallocate memory in Java? Can anybody answer for this? Delete function is there, Devaki. Okay, maybe this is for Previous question, right? Yes. So there is no concept of deletion here. There is a garbage collector, which will automatically take care of deallocating the memory. Means developer should not have to interfere to deallocate the memory. Should not కాదమ్మా కావాలని deallocate చేయొచ్చు. If you are not able to deallocate, then also a garbage collector will take care of the already allocated memory space. But coming to C++, we need to manually delete. In C language also we need to manually delete. Okay now. So to create an object, we need to use the keyword new. Keyword new, right? Okay. So let us see the syntax to create in memory. In how many ways we can create an object? Generally, we can create it in two ways only. One is through unreferenced object. Another one is referenced object. Unreferenced and referenced object. Yes. Yes. So unreferenced object and we don't have any reference for further processing. For further processing, we don't have any reference, then we can call it as unreferenced object. Reference object means we'll have some reference for further processing. That's it. So how we are going to create an object? We are going to create an object with respect to new keyword followed by class name. Followed by, that's it. This is the syntax for creating an unreferenced object. Okay, మీకు ఇది అర్థం కాదంటే చెప్తాను. Referenced object. How we are going to create our referenced object? Class name followed by object reference equal to new class name. So this structure is for referenced object, this is for unreferenced object. So this reference object for this class. Reference object for this class. Is there any reference object for this class? No, we didn't mention any reference object for this class. So when we go for referenced and when we go for unreferenced, can anybody differentiate that? When we go for reference and when we go for unreferenced? For a particular class, we use reference. Okay. Unreferenced, Suma? Let me explain. See, generally, uh, let me create an object with respect to this class. How we are going to create an object with respect to this class? By using the key new followed by searching. Followed by circle. So whenever I am saying this is an unreferenced object, whenever I define an object like this, automatically memory space is created for that class. Automatically memory space is created for that. What are the data members are there? One data member is radius, so memory is created for this one. So to access this data which is present inside the class, I am going to use a dot operator. Then I will write the corresponding data member name. With simply an unreferenced object accessing. Let me write one more, like this is not related, like something like area I am writing. Right now, what you need to write if you want to access the one more property area. Area property mala access cheyalante meer em cheyalama? Again we need to write an unreferenced object. We have to create an unreferenced object dot area. Yes. Means when we go for an unreferenced object, and you are trying to access more than one property of the class, you need to create an object every time. Suppose, for example, I am going for reference object. What is index for reference object? Class name, circle, some object name can be anything. It is not fixed. C equal to new circle followed by parenthesis. So this is what? This is a referenced object. Okay. So once I define a referenced object, with respect to this referenced object, by using dot operator, I can able to access the radius property. I can able to access the area property without going to create an object again and again. That is important. Means when we go for an unreferenced object, we can able to access only one property at a time. But if you go for reference object, we can access more than one value, one variable or one data member at a time. Not only data member, but also methods. Features are simple. Features are more than one way access challenge, will go for referenced object. This is simply a referenced object. This is unreferenced object. So which is the best one? Always preferable for to create a referenced object, because we don't know exactly how many times you are going to call a particular data member of the class. Then we'll go for always referenced object. Okay now. But see here, this same one I can write like this. I can write like circle C, and C equal to new circle. Am I right or not? I can write it in the two steps. General చూడండి, వేరియబుల్ రాస్తాము int a equal to 2. That same thing I can write like int a equal to 2 or not? Yes. Okay, like this you can write. So the same thing you can write this way also. Once you write like in this structure, this is also a reference object, but up to here, this sentence we can call it as object declaration. And this one we can call it as object initialization or object reference. What I did here? Variable declaration. Then I did variable initialization. The same thing there applies. Okay. See, once I create an object, once I declared an object, there is an object is created like C. Is there any value which is present in this one? Means once I declared an integer variable, there is a default value. Means A is a memory created and it contains a default value 0. Similarly, once I declared a variable, once I declared an object, it also contains some default value. That default value is null. And once we assign some value, what is that some value? New circle object memory create in a place యొక్క address create means, see, once you write like new circle, what will happen means it is going to create memory space for the data member method of class. Like for radius is one method, and for area it is going to create some memory space. and let us assume that this address is 100. So this is going to create for new circle. Then it is going to return what? The address of the memory location. Means C contains what? 100. So now C is an object which contains an address 100. Means now when you write like C dot radius here, when you write like C dot radius, what it is going to do? C is an object and it will move to the location 100. Move to the location 100. So 100 location contains the variable radius. C dot radius, the value it is going to return. When you write like C dot area, it is going to return to this value. This way it is going to perform. Okay, now fine. So what about this one? New circle dot radius. What will happen? It is going to create a memory space. Then automatically directly it will call the radius variable. Directly it will call the radius variable. After execution of this statement, once again this block will be deleted because there is no use of this one. Because of there is no use of this one, automatically in the background garbage collector will take care of removing this memory space. So that is the reason this unreferenced object syntax is used for only to access only one property. To access only one property, whereas coming to this referenced object used for to access more than one property. Okay, fine. So object create చేసామంటే memory ఎప్పుడు create అవుతుందమ్మా? When we are going to create memory is going to create when means that dot class file is all there, right? Dot class file is there. You know, this dot class file is loaded into primary memory. After loading into primary memory, then only memory space will be created. Important one. Then only memory space will be created, right? You know, the same syntax reflects here, right? Memory space will be created where? Primary memory, right? So memory space is compulsory primary memory. Primary memory is compulsory dot class file. Okay. So this is what all about the instance, like object. So object is simply an instance of a class. Instance means allocating the memory space for this object. So when to work with a particular class, to work with particular data members or methods of a class, we need to create an object. Okay, fine. Let us assume that this is class A. Right? For this class A, how can I create an object? Class name A followed by object name equal to new A class. So this is A is an object reference for the class A. Can I create another object? Capital A B equal to new A. Can I create another object? Yes. Like this, we can create multiple objects. That is what important here. Means for a single class, I can create multiple objects. But what about class definition? Can I define multiple classes with the same definition? Can I define multiple class definitions? Answer is no. That's it. Multiple class definitions అంటే ఏంటమ్మా? సేమ్ నేమ్ తో ఉండకూడదు. క్లాస్ ఏ ఇలా సేమ్ నేమ్ తో ఉండకూడదు. This class name should be unique. But for a class, we can create multiple objects. For every object, memory space will be created separately. For every object, memory space will be created separately. Right? చూడండి ఇక్కడ ఏ ఇక్కడ ఏమవుతుందంటే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక వేరియబుల్ మాత్రమే ఉంది అనుకుందాం int a. First it is going to right, how it is going to execute? Whenever we are having some kind of expression, first it is going to execute right side, then that value is appended to the left side, right? New a of is a kind of object creation. Object creation means it is going to create some memory space for the class a. For the class a, it contains the address 100. That address 100 is going to store in an object. For not to confuse, I'm taking here it is or some. Okay. What will happen? For first object 100 is created and it is going to occupy. To access this value, you are going to write like a dot k. Similarly, second object is created for the same class. For k, let us assume its address is 100, p 200, it will access. If you want to access, we will write p dot k. For the third object c, same k 300, c 300. For accessing c dot, like this, we can create multiple objects. For every object, separate memory space is created. For every object, separate memory space is created, right? See guys, one important point. Methods, while explaining the methods concept, I have defined like a method cannot return anything, or a method can return something. That method I can call it as non-void method. What it may return? It may return primary data types, or it may return objects also. May return objects. Return object. So while returning an object, you have to write class name that you can see later. So return followed by what is object name? Object reference we need to pass. Return A, or return B, or return C. So you can return object also. Remember that point. When time comes, I will explain during the classes, for the coming classes. Okay, now means not only we can return primary data types, but also we can return objects also. Objects. Important one. Whenever a particular method, whenever any method is returning object for the class, whenever any method is returning object, then that method we can call it as factory method. Important one for competitive exams. What is a factory method? If a method is returning an object, then we can call it as factory method. Okay, so this is what all about the concepts of objects. Okay, now, so what is the difference between object and a class? If we conclude, so if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Class and object. What we have discussed, will summarize. A class is a collection of data members and its associated methods. What is an object? Object is an instance of a class. For class definition, is memory space is created? No memory space is created. What about object creation? For object creation, memory space is created for the data members and methods of the class. Okay, these classes are what? These classes are logical existence. What about the objects? These are objects are physical existence. Okay, what about the definition of a class? The definition of a class will exist only one time. What about the definition of object? I mean, For a single class, we can have multiple objects. We have multiple objects. So here in object, when we are going to create memory, after loading dot class file into primary memory, then only objects will be created. Then only objects will be created. Okay. When the class is going to load into primary memory, while executing a program, class loader subsystem, you know, right? What do you mean class loader subsystem? Class loader subsystem will automatically load dynamically from secondary memory to primary memory. ఏదైతే సెకండరీ నుంచి ప్రైమరీ మెమరీ చేస్తుంది క్లాస్ లోడ్ సబ్స్ట్రేట్ ఎక్కడైతే ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేసి ఎప్పుడు క్రియేట్ అవుతామో ఓన్లీ ప్రైమరీ మెమరీలో ఉన్నప్పుడు మాత్రం అవుతుంది. ఓకేనా? ఇదే డిఫరెన్సెస్ ఇంకేమైనా ఉన్నాయమ్మా? సింటాక్స్లో ఉన్నాయి. సింటాక్స్లో ఓకే కదా? Is there any differences are there? So this is what all about today's class.